Hello, my name is Samantha Valencia, and I'll be talking about the social, national, and cultural identity of Pablo Picasso, Federico Garcia Lorca, and Camarón de la Isla. Starting off with Pablo Picasso, he was born on October 25th, 1881, and died on April 8th, 1973. He is known as a Spanish painter, sculptor, printmaker, ceramic, and stage designer. He's considered one of the greatest and most influential artists of the 20th century and co-creator along with Jorge Spark of Cubism. Cubism was an artistic style pioneered by Picasso and his friend and fellow painter Jorge Barque. In Cubist paintings, objects are broken apart and resembled in an abstracted form, highlighting their composite geometric shapes and depicting them from multiple simultaneous viewpoints in order to create physics-defying collage-like effects. At once destructive and creative, Cubism shocked, appalled, and fascinated the art world. One of the paintings which I'll be talking about is Les Demoiselles d'Avignon, which he painted in 1907, and that's when Picasso produced the painting that today is considered the precursor and inspiration of Cubism. Les Demoiselles d'Avignon is a chilling depiction of 5 nude prostitutes, abstracted and distorted with sharp geometric features and stark blotches of blue, greens, and grays. The work was unlike anything he or anyone else had ever painted before and would profoundly influence the direction of art in the 20th century. The name of Démonion is not part of Paris, where the painting was originally painted, but in Barcelona, and is associated with prostitution, as I mentioned. And what we are looking at is a brothel, the idea of rendering a woman who is available to the male viewer. Many saw this painting as a foundation on which Cubism is built. It's a radical break that points to the future. And it's a radical break also with these conventions of representation that had for so long been accepted in the West about how you make a body in space and how you create a space. All of this upended by Les Demoiselles d'Avignon, gone as a linear perspective, and also a chiaroscuro that modulation of light and shadow that creates the illusion that Picasso, by the way, was in love with, and that we can see in these 4 cropped out paintings of the painting, in which we can see all the shadows and those spaces in the body of space. To end with Picasso, he found the formal means to convey the idea in which were behind Les Demoiselles d'Avignon. The ideas about sexuality, about the female nude, and about sexually transmitted diseases, which is why this is such a confrontational painting, in which a lot of people, would talk about it in the way that he depicted the painting itself. Next, I'll be talking about Federico Garcia Lorca. He is one of the most important Spanish poets and dramatists of the 20th century. On June 5th of 1898, in Fuente Vaqueros, a small town a few away from Granadas, is where he was born. One of the poems that I really liked and I'll be analyzing is the Ballad of the Moon Moon. Since the Ballad of the Moon is the first poem in Romancero Gitano from 1924 to 1927, the Ballad of the Moon Moon sets the tone and also signals the role of the moon and other natural elements in the book. The moon appears in the smithy, which, gypsies were often blacksmiths, dressed as a woman wearing a bustle of white lilies, which suggested by the moon's whiteness. And she begins a lascivious dance in front of a little boy left in the shop by his parents. Garcia Lorca renders the spell cast on the boy through rhyme and repetition. The boy warns the moon that she must flee before the gypsies return, or they will chop her up for necklaces or silver rings, which is typical for gypsy jewelry. The words that he uses to caution the moon are incantation with run away, moon, run away, moon. The moon, however, refuses to be frightened and answers the boy with her own prediction. When the gypsies come, they will find you on the anvil with your tiny eyes shut. Enthralled, the boy draws near. A rider is heard galloping across the plain, and in the smithy the boy's eyes are shut. The moon gives to the sound of the dry hooves pounding on the ground, which suggests death. The gypsies return through the olive groves, their bronze faces also under the spell of the moon. The barn owl hoots, and through the sky goes the moon, taking the boy by the hand. The boy's body lies inside the smithy, but his spirit has gone with the moon. The gypsies, upon discovering their loss, commence to wail and shout. Outside, the air, this time a sympathetic element of nature, watches over them. I love this poem because Garcia Lorca creates a modern mythology for his gypsies, weaving strands of ancient tales and local Andalusian culture, which that also ties a little bit with what I talked about with Pablo Picasso and his stories that he brought Spain into Paris with him, with his drawings, with his paintings. Camarón de la Isla. So a little bit about him is he was born Jose Monje Cruz, but was given the name Camarón de la Isla for the way he looked. He was very pale and had that, reddish hair to him, which is why they gave him the name of Camarón de la Isla. He was born in December 5th, 1950 in San Fernando, Cádiz, in Spain. He is a famous flamenco singer, which he began to sing at age 10 in inns and bus stops to earn money. At age 16, he won first prize at the Festival del Cante Hondo in Mariana del Alcor. The Spanish flamenco came to fame when Camarón met Paco de Lucia, a collaboration that was to help him make one of the most famous Spanish flamenco singles of all time. The Spanish flamenco partnership flourished, and when the time came to go their separate ways, as both were fast becoming stars in their own right. During his career, he sold a total of 360,000 albums, and he is still considered one of the most popular Spanish singers. And many consider Camarón to be the single most popular and influential flamenco cantador of the modern period. Although his work was criticized by some traditionalists, he was one of the first to feature an electric bass in his songs, and this was a turning point in the history of flamenco music that helped distinguish Nuevo Flamenco. And I love how Federico Lorca and Camarón de la Isla tie together with their gypsy backgrounds. And, flamenco actually comes from Andalusia, which is, where Federico and Camarón have that tie together, which I loved that I incorporated that together where they tie up. And actually, Lorca is the one who actually made that first flamenco, tradition to be done in Spain, where it was, open to everybody. And my next slide, it's about a little bit about how Camarón de la Isla has so much passion when he sings, which is one of my favorite that I can see in him. And to me, a typical artist should have that in them. They should be able to feel the music and have all those emotions entwined when they sing. And also a little bit that ties all of them together, as I'll mention in the review as well. But I love that they all, they see a woman as something beautiful, like Picasso painting, the women, even though they were considered prostitutions, he saw, their bodies as something beautiful and pure. And Loarca, mentioning her as the moon, as something that's, white, and white is considered pure. And Camarón de la Isla is considering, that women are beautiful and not considered as something that can be taken by death. And a little bit about the review is that, Pablo Picasso, as I mentioned, is an Andalusian Spanish painter and sculptor. He went through a lot of periods of his artwork that included the blue period, the rose period, and of course, as his greatest achievement was Cubism. And Camarón de la Isla, like I mentioned, he was the one who helped usher in the new style of flamenco called the Nuevo Flamenco, which we can see in his tone of voice and how he shows that to the world, which a lot of traditionalists didn't like. And to end it, Loarca, he published a lot of volumes of poetry during his career, and he incorporates a lot of the elements like Spanish folklore, Andalusian flamenco, gypsy culture, cantejodos, and deep songs, while exploring themes of romantic love and tragedy, which all that can be seen between all three of them. And despite the threat of growing fascist movement in his country, Lorca refused to hide his leftist political views and his homosexuality, and he continued that while being an accent as a writer. And there's my works cited, and thank you for watching.